nobody in our society, like when we're growing up, when we're going to school, our parents and so forth, nobody really instills in us the importance of artistic integrity. And in fact, we can be mocked for that. If you have any kind of sense of artistic integrity just naturally, intuitively, the way you grew up, maybe you have an artistic mind or artistic sort of spirit, and you know what I'm talking about, the importance of artistic integrity, but it's so difficult to maintain that, especially amidst all your friends, family, and colleagues, and even fellow artists who are cutting corners and are low integrity. They don't have any principles by which they're living their life. They don't have any principles by which they're doing their work. Their principle is just, hey, whatever works, whatever is the path of least resistance. But this is not how you build a great life. This is how you get the kind of mediocre results that everybody else around you is getting. So integrity is about having kind of values and principles above and beyond just bare survival or what happens to work. And then the difficulty is staying true to those principles and values when things get difficult. There's a cost to integrity. It's more difficult than just opportunistically doing what works. You have to put more consciousness and thought into your relationships, your marriage, your education, the way you advertise and market, the way you do business in order to do it with integrity. A business with high integrity is actually a pretty rare thing, because most business people just want to make money, and so they're willing to take the path of least resistance to doing that, and they don't want to exert any work beyond that. Their business is not turned into a sort of an art form or it has no spiritual connection. And yeah, businesses should have a spiritual connection. I recommend if you do business, then you do it in a spiritual way. Your business should have a soul. That means it's more than just about earning money. And see, so nobody really talks very much about how important this integrity is. Or if they do, they talk about it from a spiral dynamic stage blue perspective, where they just give you dogma and ideology about which morals and values you're supposed to follow. That's not what I'm doing here. Integrity is not something that can be turned into an algorithm. Integrity requires consciousness, and in fact, it requires an open mind. It requires letting go of dogmas and following rules. But it does require some principles and some values that you should be clear about with yourself. That means you got to get clear about what you really want out of life, what's important to you, what's meaningful to you. And then you got to be willing to pay the cost to enforce that. So if you're running a business, most of your employees are not going to be interested in integrity or your values or ideals or the artistry of your business. They're just going to be interested in just doing a bare minimum sort of job to please you as the boss, to get their paycheck. You got to lead them and inspire them to also get interested in your ideals and values. And you got to communicate them. And then, of course, in order to really get these values, if you really value something, it's not enough for you to just value it in your mind. You got to also, you want to see it realized, actualized in the world, right? It's no good to have this ideal of a business, but then in reality, your business is doing some shady stuff. Like, if you really want your business to be an art and to have soul, then you're going to have to work extra hard to find the kind of employees who also care about those things. You got to pay them more, because those people are rarer and they're going to have more, they're going to need to be more skillful. You got to pay them more. That means you're going to have to earn more. You're going to have to be more creative with your budget and so forth to make that work. And then you're going to be competing against other businesses who are not doing that, who are, hiring employees for cheap offshore and so forth, don't care about integrity, who are scamming their customers and so forth. And they might even be outselling you by doing that, because they have shady, low integrity advertising and marketing strategies, and you don't want to. You could use those marketing strategies, but you don't want to. You could do clickbait titles. You could do scammy sorts of sales pages. You could do spam email lists. And, there's a lot of shady marketing stuff you could do. But if your business is about something higher than just the quantity of your sales, then you may not want to do those tactics. In fact, you might be conscious of how those tactics are actually corrupting the entire epistemic ecosystem of our society and our culture, and the kind of toxic impact this has on the health of our culture and our society. So that makes your business and marketing harder. Now you got to find more conscious ways of doing advertising and marketing. How do you do that? Well, how many people are teaching conscious advertising and marketing strategies? Almost zero, compared to all the gurus who are teaching you the most low consciousness advertising and marketing strategies. By the way, if you want a really deep, profound discussion of marketing and advertising, go check out my older episode called The Deep Problem of Marketing. It's one of my most underrated but most important episodes. There's some very profound insights there about that. So my point is that really, if you're going to be integrous, the only way you're going to do it is by wanting to do it yourself. No one's going to push you into it. You have to adopt that idea yourself. And in fact, you're going to be fighting the whole world, because the whole world is going to be trying to lure you in with shortcuts and traps, trying to get you to back down from your artistic values, right? Like if you're an artist, most employers you go to work for, they don't give a shit about your artistic values and principles. They just want you to do their work for them. And then that's probably going to involve you in sacrificing some of those. And then the question is, are you going to take that job, or are you going to reject it? And if you reject it, then how are you going to feed yourself? You see? So, of course, it's all wrapped up with survival. There's a good reason why integrity is a rare thing. And when you find a friend or a teacher or a mentor or a guru or a scientist or a doctor who has high integrity, or a spouse or a friend who has high integrity, you really value that person. There's something special about that. Or a business. Think of right now some business or company that you've done business with in your life that was like really high integrity, and it impressed you. And you're happy to go back to them years later and to pay them even extra because of the integrity with which that company is run. And then, of course, think of the opposite, which is much easier because there's more examples of it. Think of a company that had no integrity at all. How do you feel about that?